Hello and welcome to Your Broken Galaxy. I am Broken, and today I'm asking the question, what if Ahsoka crushed Anakin on Christophsis? So in the Battle of Christophsis, Anakin and Obi-Wan are fighting the droids. You can tell it is still really early in the Clone Wars because the clones haven't learned about things like taking cover behind rocks, and instead they just charge out to the open to be mowed down. Anyway, Anakin and Ahsoka have to take down a shield generator, and Anakin gets surrounded by a bunch of droids and is about to be overwhelmed. Ahsoka sees a large broken cement slab behind him with a small hole in it, and she feels like she will be able to drop the thing on the droids while having Anakin go through the hole. So she yells at him, "Sky Guy, don't move." And then, being a brand new Padawan who has horrible command of the Force, she ends up crushing Anakin along with all the droids. So Ahsoka looks over and says, "Oh no." And then she says, "Oh my Force, oh my Force, oh my Force, I killed my master." Wait, maybe he's okay under there. So she lifts up the rock and kind of peeks under through squinted eyes and says, "Not okay. He is definitely not okay. Oh, what am I going to do?" So meanwhile, Obi-Wan has been captured and is stalling for time. He ends up fighting back and taking the general of the droids captive and tells them to stand down. And they do. Ahsoka is pacing back and forth, babbling to herself about how much trouble she is in. She ends up sitting on the ground in a ball crying, and in a couple of minutes, Obi-Wan comes and says, "Padawan Ahsoka, where is Anakin?" And she says, I don't... I'm sorry, Master." And Obi-Wan says, "Oh no, the droids got him. Oh, Anakin, I'm sorry," he says, and Ahsoka says, "Yes, that is what happened," because internally she is freaking out here. She feels horrible for Anakin, but she's also afraid about the consequences. So Obi-Wan says, "Ahsoka, do you know where the body is?" And she says, He's under there," and points at the massive slab of cement. "I see. I'll have the clones retrieve his remains. Come with me, young one." So Obi-Wan goes and reports to Yoda, and afterward he sits down next to Ahsoka and says, "I'm so sorry, little one. Honestly, you never would have made it as Anakin's Padawan, but you might make it as mine." Her inner emotions are in turmoil because of guilt, but she is able to reach out and awkwardly give Obi-Wan a hug. They get on the ship, and Yoda says, "Save Jabba the Hutt's son, you must." And Obi-Wan says, "Okay." So he and Ahsoka get on a ship and start flying, and after like 30 minutes, Ahsoka is just bedridden with guilt. She goes to her room, gets in bed, and just lays there with her eyes open, thinking about how she killed Anakin. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan is in his room across the hall, and he is looking at a framed picture of him and Anakin, just bawling his eyes out and saying, "Oh, Anakin, why? I failed you, Anakin. Why couldn't it have been me? You're my brother, Anakin. Oh gosh, this hurts." So the next day, they both get up for breakfast before they meet Jabba. Unfortunately, neither one of them slept a single minute the entire night. Ahsoka because of the unrelenting guilt, and Obi-Wan because of the unrelenting sorrow. Both of them are just horribly tired. So the server droid brings them both breakfast. It sets down 3 bowls and says, "Good morning, Master Obi-Wan. I've got breakfast. It's Master Skywalker's favorite, cream of wheat. Where is he today?" And both Obi-Wan and Ahsoka's eyes go as wide as they possibly can, and Ahsoka says, And Obi-Wan cuts her off and says, "Thank you, C93. Unfortunately, Anakin has become a casualty of the war." And C93 says, "Okay, I hope you have a great day," and zips off with the extra bowl. Ahsoka and Obi-Wan are just barely holding it together at this point. They end up saving Jabba's son, and for the next 3 years, they are going on adventure after adventure, but both of them are just being totally eaten alive inside. So finally, years into the Clone Wars, there is bombing at the Jedi Temple, and Ahsoka gets blamed. And Obi-Wan is like, "I am not going to lose another Padawan to this war." So he goes on a little adventure to clear her name, but Ahsoka walks away from the Jedi Order after she's cleared, and she becomes a recluse cat lady. She moves to some tiny village in an underpopulated location and spends the rest of her life knitting and fretting about how she killed Anakin. Meanwhile, Sidious gets captured by Grievous, and instead of Obi-Wan and Anakin going to save him, they send Obi-Wan and Mace Windu, because obviously they would send Windu. He was already on Coruscant. So So they came rolling up, and Dooku's like, okay, Obi-Wan isn't that great, but like, I'm really concerned about Windu. They end up defeating Dooku and Grievous, and they take Palpatine back to Coruscant, at which point Palpatine says to himself, why did I go through the kidnapping phase of my plan? That was really just to turn Anakin to the dark side. My goodness, I am exhausted from leading this war. I forgot to take it off the agenda. So Sidious is like, well, I might as well get on with Order 66. And he does. Obi-Wan, who is at the temple, ends up dying just like all the other Jedi there. Yoda lives out the rest of his life in isolation. Ahsoka lives out the rest of her life in isolation. Since Anakin died well before she got pregnant, Padme lives out the rest of her life in isolation, and Palpatine, without an apprentice, lives out the rest of his life in isolation, and loneliness rules the galaxy. Well, this video was a little bit more depressing than I usually make them. Hopefully you still thought it was a little bit funny. It was recommended to me by the Idiot1283. In my next video, I will plan to return to form with more over-the-top comedy rather than laughing at the expense of Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. Let me know what you think. If you have ideas for videos, I'd be happy to read them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and all that garbage.